Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Make We Talk. This evening, we're going to speak about should Ambassador Rocky Mead sit on the Constitutional Reform Committee for Jamaica, and what took place in the House of Parliament a couple of days ago with Dr. Angela Brown Burke, the Speaker, the Minister of Finance, and his utterance of Mass Mark. This evening, I have with me the head of the Jamaican Diaspora, Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force, Dr. Rupert Francis, retired captain of the Jamaica Defense Force, Mr. Marcel Clark, chairman of the St. Thomas Crime Prevention Unit. Gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to Make We Talk.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
We're supposed to have Justice of the Peace with us this evening. I haven't seen him as yet. We're going to start with the gentleman, the senior in the midst of us. Dr. Francis,
yes,
your views on Ambassador Rocky Mead sitting on the committee, or co-chair the committee rather. Here he is. Good evening, Sir Luke, Justice of the Peace.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Tavares.
Good evening. With us this evening, we have Justice of the Peace, Luke George, head of the Jamaica Diaspora Prevention Task Force, Dr. Rupert Francis. We also have the great-great-grandson out of St. Thomas of Paul Bogle, who led a rebellion, Sir Marcel Clark. We're going to start with the senior gentleman this evening in the midst, Dr. Rupert Francis. Dr. Francis, your take on the whole idea of the Prime Minister naming, as a matter of fact, before we go any further, maybe I should play this clip that you all can see what I'm talking about. Let me play the clip here. I hope you all can hear it.
Indeed, my great privilege to announce the establishment of the Constitutional Reform Committee to be chaired by the Honorable Marlene Malahoo Fort,
you all can hear
KCJP MP, Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs. Ambassador Rocky Mead, CD, will act as co-chair, and Ambassador Mead works out of the Office of the Prime Minister. Dr. Derek McCoy, CD, JP, KC, Attorney General of Jamaica. Senator the Honorable Tom Tavares Finson, OJ, CD, KC, President of the Senate and the Commissioner of the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. Senator Ransford Braham, CD, KC, Government Senator. Senator Donna Scott Motley, Parliamentary Opposition, Member of the Senate. Mr. Anthony Hilton, MP, Parliamentary Opposition, House of Representatives. We have an international constitutional law expert who is on the committee, Professor Richard Albert. Dr. the Honorable Lloyd Barnett, OJ, National Constitutional Expert. Mr. Hugh Small, KC, Consultant Counsel and nominee of the Leader of the Opposition. Dr. David Henry, representing the wider faith-based society. Dr. Nadine Spence, representing civil society, social and political commentator in her own right. Mrs. Lalita Davis Mattis from the National Reparations Committee, and Mr. Sujay Boswell, Youth Advisor. Mr. Christopher Harper will be the Committee Liaison Officer.
Gentlemen, welcome back. Your views on, Sir Francis, your views on Rocky Mead becoming co-chairman of the Jamaica Constitutional Committee. Dr. Francis, are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I personally, I have nothing against Rocky Mead being part of the Lieutenant General in the Jamaica Defense Force, but I really don't know. With all of those qualified persons there, I don't know if he should be the co-chair of the entire thing. Because it speaks to training, education, experience. Of course, he's an educated man. Yes, he's has a doctorate, and he's also was a chief of the army. He has quite a broad knowledge. But to be quite honest with you, I guess chairman or co-chairman directs the course, so to speak, of the trajectory of where we're going. But I see members, very, very competent members on that committee, from both sides of the fence and from civil society. Some of the other persons are questionable. I'm not sure why this constitutional I didn't get the sense of the expertise of the final person who was chosen from where. So that is a concern for me, how he was chosen, who he was chosen by. And so it's a question of balance. When it comes to any court, I'm sure anyone will agree with me that balance is the key. The Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, or what I'm not a lawyer, but certainly if you're trying to hold balance, unless you're perhaps in the United States when you try to pack the court one way or the other for the Supreme Court, and everybody has tried to do that, and some are more successful than others, and everybody cry foul. But the fact of the matter is that justice should be what do you call it? Justice should be pure. I think that's the correct word. Or justice should be. I think Martin Luther said it best. Should be for all, and not just for some. That's my comments basically on. It's not Rocky Mead alone. It's a question of the court. The committee. It's a question of all the persons and whether it can function. Now that I've seen them, I feel a little better.
Justice Luke George, your views on it, sir?
I'm sure by the time you're done with using Justice Luke George, they'll decommission me. They will decommission me. It's too top heavy for the Jamaica Labour Party. Bear in mind that these discussions took place 25 years ago. This is a 25-year discussion that has been taking place. One of the things I fear is the compilation of such a committee leaves out a hardened community worker who interface with the poor and dispossessed every day and understand that their misunderstanding or lack of understanding of the Constitution may not be able to voice certain concern as to exactly what happened in 1961 when the writers of the Constitution coming on 1962, the time for independence. It was still compiled by a group of elites who did not represent the will and spoke to the suffering of the ordinary Jamaican. Now, my challenge is when you talk about accountability and transparency in Jamaica, everybody who has been named to that committee seem to have a question sign beside their name. Half of the JDF no longer have confidence in the Rocky Mead leadership, found that it was very dictatorial and very absence of an inclusiveness. I can't speak to that. My only concern with the gentleman was that he seemed to have been the overseer program where you recruited so many young Jamaicans and at the end of it, at the training, money that they had received from an international body. So many of these young men were not selected, but they got military training. And just recently in a conversation this week, somebody said, oh, could it be that these young men were so frustrated that we are seeing now the increase in the amount of bank robberies and other business places, that we have put people out on the street with training that have no sort of home or camp, so they can be recruited by criminal elements. And it was a lot of money, and there was not a proper review of that program. And seemingly, I would have thought that Mr. Meade would have had some sort of long-term plan, not just to take up young people and just train them and put them out there. For me as a Jamaican, I mean, I know some of these people, but my question is, how are they part and parcel of the challenge that we're having in Jamaica now with the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability, and what will they do for their political party that is not in the best interest of the Jamaican people? I think that it should have been more of a wider consultation, similar to the style or the pattern that was used for Vision 2030. Don't give me just a group of people and say that they have the know-it-all or the makeup to look at something as important as the fundamental piece of document that is going to manage and supervise the everyday life of the Jamaican people that feel betrayed by both tribal party and the church. So while it needs competence, I think it should have been brought. I thought the diaspora community would have had a representation on it. But this prime minister seemed to work within the fear that he only works with people that he's comfortable with. I believe that the Jamaican people must make a pushback on the committee and ask that the consultation and their subsequent committee must have a reflection. Because if you look at it, SDC, the Social Development Commission, has a three-tier community engagement model of Community Development Committee, Area Development Committee, and Parish Development Committee, which is supposed to be speaking to the local authority on the issues that are affecting the citizens of the day. And not even at that level, a representative was selected to sit on it. So how is it that you're trying to make our lives better, but you tend to forget that you have people who have given yeoman service to the development of this country, and you didn't think of even including one of those persons? I think Mr. Meade, being in the office of the Prime Minister, and when you look at the opposition side versus the people who are directly at the office of the Prime Minister, you have to say to yourself, no, I wouldn't have done that way, because you have the Integrity Commission, you have people like when you talk about just her name, Jeanette, who is Calder. That to me, I trust the opinion of those people than I trust. And interesting enough, you're going to do constitutional reform, and you have at least 7 universities in Kingston. And Dr. Anthony Harriott is right there at the university heading up the criminal section and the law school. And you didn't think of including them for how you're going to roll out a full understanding of how people will understand the new reform constitution. No, I'm gonna like this flyby idea and picture by night approach to something as fundamental as what can infringe on the rights of the Jamaican people. And I think we need to go back to the drawing board. Rocky, there is so much question sign against Rocky. And when you talk about Minister Malavo Ford, I was turned off, badly turned off when I watched her on a program on all angles. She came in after the opposition leader, and her thing was that Mark Golding from the onset has been my way or the highway, and she don't even see why the Prime Minister treat with the opposition sometime in making those defining decision, and she was talking about it in relation to the state of emergency, that the government should just make up their mind and go alone because they are working in the best interest. If, to me, you lost your ministerial responsibility the minute that came out of your mouth. That is something that you just don't say. You're talking that you don't believe in consultation. Be it as it may, the person that you're consulted with might not be saying what you like. But to take that blunt approach that we should go it alone, forget them because all they are is opposition. You must remember a section of the country voted for those people and believe that they are going to represent their best interests, even if that is not true. Because I don't think your political appointment as Member of Parliament and subsequently as Minister, that you have done everything in the best interest of the Jamaican people. And we can see that clearly from the Integrity Commission report, where you stopped the report and said, look, we don't want this report to go any further, and you're buried. And you believe that the Jamaican people trust government? No.
But
if they were to take a poll, nobody trusts the Jamaican government. Absolutely nobody. Even their own political supporters question sometimes in the back conversation if it is in their best interest, and will tell you ultimately it's all about them and not about the people.
But Justice, if I may say this, I'm going to bring in Sir Clark next. The Jamaican people need answer from Rocky Meade. And the answer...
A lot of it.
Yes, because...
A lot of it, but he is closely protected by the powers at B. And this is the challenge for us. Once you are a part of that exclusive club, you seem as if you become the paragon of virtue and you don't have to answer to anybody. There was a group of military persons who left the camp after the appointment of the then chief of staff. And there were several voice notes going out into the public that left a distasteful taste in the mouths of people as to the leadership of Mr. Meade. And there are answers that the people are waiting on. If you write to Rocky, you don't get a response, because there was a time when soldiers beat up two guys on Studley Park Road that we went, and the letter I wrote to him expressing the disappointment in it, and you never got a response, and seemingly the attitude is always top heavy. You don't respond to the little ordinary request that comes in or concern, because it's as if we're just troublemaker. But even it's not just Rocky, you know, it's just how you went into the dark of night and pick out these names out of, and then ask the opposition to give you two names, and then you bring you Small, who was a former PNP minister and MP, and then you say, oh, this is going to be the construct of the reforming of the Constitution. Now, I would like to see what the framework of this committee has to do.
But not only that, Justice, nobody from the lower end of society, they didn't draw somebody from Coronation Market to help draw.
But that's what I said. But that's what I said. But Jeffrey, that's what I said. It's like SDC is supposed to be the Social Development Commission.
Yes.
And they are supposed to be representing all the communities that are in Jamaica. But on its board, if you go and look on its board, nobody from the ordinary people gets a sit on that board. When boards are selected, look at all the government board that are there, and look at one local Jamaican who everybody know, whether Miss Dana or something, who sits on those boards. We are not represented. We are only called upon when there's a workshop and they want to make up the numbers to say to the international community, this workshop was held, and hence we pull the broadest consultation. And many of the time, the broadest consultation are people from these communities who don't fully understand the issue and can speak to it, because they will not pull somebody like Janelle Calder, who is going to go there and challenge the very fundamental, or a Luke George Cook, who are going to challenge the very fundamental at the base of the construction of the committee. This is not a committee of the people, by the people. This is a committee of Mr. Holness and a formality to say, I'm going to invite members of the opposition to sit on it. It should, constitution reform is every Jamaican business. Whether you live in Jamaica or you live in the diaspora, it's every Jamaican business, because the conditions that we are having to endure affects every Jamaica. And Martin Luther King said it when he said the threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And this is an injustice that has been done by the government of Jamaica. The construction of that committee needs to be broadened, needs to be far more wide, and everybody must be represented at the table. So them not interested in local people. We are only relevant 5 years. They use us like the battered person. We are the battered people. When you need, where you use, but when you don't need, where you just dispose of us. Our opinion don't count, you know.
Let me get the opinion from Sir Clark, who is the great-great-grandson of Paul Bogle. So, Sir Clark, come on in. And Mr. Mike, and what is your views on Rocky Mead, or what is your views on a Thomas Tavares Finson on the board, or you know, all the names that used to come up on the board there? Because some of them, I don't know what they're not going to coronation, I get some people from down there.
All right, Jeffrey, I'm going to say something, and all of you may hit the roof. But it's my honest opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I rather the Constitution remain as it is.
Why you
Make it
that?
stay or it stay. Because put it into the hands of these people today without integrity and morals and values, we're going to get some stuff in there that's going to take the rights of the common Jamaican, the little that we have left. I'm telling you. That's what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. And if you look at the construction of this committee, it's telling you that's what's going to happen. Because how is it you don't have a sitting judge and a retired judge on it, or you don't have some regular no-name lawyers that are out there? You don't have, and I tell you the truth, I would have loved to have seen a PJ Patterson and a Bruce Golden. And I'd love to see some common people, as the justice was saying earlier, some regular people from different walks of life. And as you can see, this committee is stacked one way to bring one result, exactly what the agenda of the government is. This is a kangaroo committee. I'm going to tell you straight up, it's a kangaroo committee. And that's just the honest truth. That's why I said what I said earlier. I would rather the Constitution stay as it is. Yeah, because once they mess with it, you're gonna see some color people come out and start to wave them flag like our embassy. They put up one particular flag on Jamaican soil. You know, you will see stuff like that in there. I'm telling you, that's what's gonna happen. We see an uprising in Uganda or one of them African countries the other day that they have to pass some stringent laws to block out certain things that our donors like to infringe on us, that we don't see that is morally right. I don't see proper church representation either. I see some people that are yes men and yes women, and so they're representing the faith of God or the word of God, you know. So I am telling you, Rocky Mead have no credibility. Rocky Mead does not have any credibility, because if you're gonna sit in JDF and say you're the head of JDF, and because of a promotion and an increase in salary, you recruit X amount of soldiers, train them, and then when they go home on vacation, you send them better so they know they're gonna need it. And it's the same boy them we see a whole of beryllium. And the same boy them are running the scam of them. And the same boy them are running the gangster them. Why they never move them to the GSF that need some police? But you know why they couldn't do it? Because they never had proper antecedents. How can we trust a Rocky Mead that sat in that chair, that was one of the highest security office in Jamaica, and because of personal gain, you sit and allow that to happen, and you never did anything to capture these youth to put them in something constructive? How can I trust somebody like that?
Well, and not only that, I'll have Dr. Francis come on in next. Not only that, Ambassador Rocky Mead need to answer to the people of this country. Who authorized nearly 100 JDF members to go up to the late Keith Clark house and pump 21 bullets in his body, assassinate a Jamaican and Jamaican style, and nothing comes out of it. The goodly ambassador that Mr. Holness have inside the office there need to tell the people of Jamaica how that happened. And if he has any credibility, he should have stepped down and don't accept the ambassadorship. Because Jamaica is the only country appoint ambassador to themselves. Dr. Francis, go ahead.
Yes, all of you have said is valid, and of course the former. I was in the JDF. In fact, I don't know. I think I served before Rocky Mead came in. I'm not even sure because he's a young officer in comparison to what I am. But by the way, you better call Luke George JP instead of Justice, because if they ever think say my try pose as Justice, is help up, right? Right? Luke George, I just tried to tell what Luke George was saying.
No, look here, look here, Dr. Francis. The truth of the matter is that some of us will. Bob Marley say, "How long will we sit aside while they murder the prophets?" Titles I am prepared to lose. The truth of the matter is that even accepting the title when you are sworn to not speak against the government of the day is a way of muzzling you. So if you say something right, you can't say it because you already signed a clause. I've always had a problem with any company or any group that I work with that asks me not to speak about things that I may observe in the engagement that are unsettling within the natural course of justice. And the fact of the matter that we do have such a secrecy clause that many of us sign tells me that you have a secret to hide and you want to muzzle people. And hence, one of the reasons why you can't find a proper whistleblower structure in Jamaica, and they have to turn to people like Jeff and Lonesome and Rattigan and yourself, is because everyday ordinary people know that things are absolutely wrong. And so for these people to continue to come out and talk about integrity and honesty is laughable. You know what young people, Dr. Francis in Jamaica call our current Prime Minister Alibaba and him 62 thieves.
Oh yes, I know. I've heard
That's a sad. It's a sad day for Jamaica, you know.
But you know, look, I want to say this though. You hit something. Bob Marley was indeed a prophet, you know. Him have write a song to tell the people them the truth. Treat the youths right. What Jimmy in Coco, yeah. I'll get it in a second. But the point I'm trying to make is this: that everything he prophesied and what a brother Clark said is so cool.
But the point I'm trying to make is this: that
these people, it seems to me, want the Constitution to go in a particular way, right? Because I think that they plan to be there forever, okay? But what they must realize that nothing lasts forever, only salvation. And so therefore, the fact of the matter is, deal with the people right, because they're going to see it anyway. Jamaicans are not stupid. You can't send those people out there who you did not engage and expect them. These guys are behaving as professionals, okay? And so there are only two places they could have come from: with those that have been deported, those that have been trained by us, or those that have military training of the sort somewhere else, okay? Or police training. And let me also say that, and I had a big tiff with a colleague of mine. I said you have to pay people who are going out there with their lives, you know, whether you like them or not, whether you say they're corrupt or not, you got to pay them because they are going to pay, like the police, the ultimate price. Okay, and yet if a policeman wants to go to the, to the doctor, he has to line up like everybody else to see the doctor, right? He has no privilege over the average. That is why what you see on the road and the way they are treated, one of the reasons, by the way, one is so. So yes, Luke, I agree with you 100%. That is obviously, but we must insist I don't think we can have everybody on the court, represented every spectrum of Jamaica. However, we must have people with integrity and with who intend to see this grow. And we're one of the democracies that has been the longest democracy in the Western world, right? And we are in danger of losing it if we do not keep on talking about it, I think.
And one of the things, Dr. Francis, that is interested is how the Prime Minister would have inserted this overseas constitutional lawyer against the mere fact that there are people within the diaspora community with a wealth of knowledge of constitution reform. This is something that they have worked with and worked on and have vast expertise in it. But you tend to only prostitute the diaspora. And then I'm outraged. I hear all the time on these programs that we, the Jamaican, must be outraged when these atrocities are taken against us. But I'm outraged when I see that the diaspora community continue to be polarized, that you have almost one set of them in there that is raising money for the PMP and one set is raising, and the poor Jamaican society is not getting one iota out of any of this for real development to take place. So why in the construction of it would you not engage the diaspora? But yet still, in almost every other speech that is made in Jamaica, the diaspora is such a wonderful entity that contributes significantly. But the platitude, you bring down a nurse when you have COVID-19 with her expertise and her brother, and you highlight how they have been given back. But yet still, when it comes to these fundamental issues that are going to now help us to propel us into the future. And it is right, the Jamaican Labour Party believe that they are going to be there forever and ever because the PMP, they have taken the PMP model. I love it when Nigel and Andrew says to Mark Golding, and even with the disappointed Master Mark, we should say Master Nigel, because he does behave as if he walks on stilted and talk these stupidness about going to Europe and it's a cashless society. And I believe that a young man was right when he said, could it be Nigel that have set up these robbery because he wants us to move to that cashless agenda? Because, one of the things is that you're right, Dr. Rupert Francis, them think the Jamaican people, young people have analyzed the government and they have absolutely no interest in what they say. Do you know that there was going to be an insurrection when Vybz Kartel was incarcerated, that young people in this country, 2 million of them was going to actually shut this country down?
Yep.
And if Vybz Kartel give the word tomorrow morning, it will happen. They are prepared to listen to a Vybz Kartel and have more trust in what he says than Andrew and Mark Golding any day. And that again tells you that we are in a dire situation in our nation. It's a nation in crisis. What commission should have led before constitution reform is the Commission on Reconciliation and Justice, where you go back to the outcome of the Tivoli incursion and said, did I treat my people right? And we start to answer fundamentally, because will we see another Tivoli Garden massacre in our lifetime? Are there still persons that are dead or we don't know where their whereabouts is coming out of that? And then a deeper piece of research should have gone into why is it that Jamaicans are so much trusting of Christopher Dudus Coke than your elected representative, because he also can tackle this country, even being in the United States of America, because people believe that he gives better justice than the very justice system that we have. So when you pick this committee and you put all of your name brand people together and you lump them, and this is what I hate with the opposition, rail against it. rail against it. Get civil society behind you. If you're a real opposition, there are people out there that will agree with the arguments that you're putting forth. Dr. Nadine Spence, students recently asked from the university that should be removed from the university. And nobody has questioned as to what the frustration of those students are. Mr. Bogle is probably right. You're cementing your plans that you have for this Jamaica land we love. But if you have the constitution reform and you have more voting members on the opposition side, if it goes to a vote, then the opposition tends to bring forward the argument that they are putting there. And again, I have no confidence in Miss Malibor, foot or fort or what she wants to name. I just think that she's a disgusting minister. There's a way you treat with your opposition and with absolute dignity and respect, and that must be communicated to the Jamaican population. We may have different views, but you don't go on there and say, from the day I know Mark Golden is my way or the highway. That's color in the water. The big red-skinned man where them used to run Jamaica, them still feel like them in charge. That's color in the water for me. And to me, everybody who knows her says that she has the same personality type. People who are, I don't know, and I frankly wouldn't want to know her as a leader of my country, because I don't like leaders who get into petty squabble when they need to raise the national issue at a level that is beyond political pontifications.
But Justice, the fact of the matter is, do you know why the good lady act that way? She has a boss. Who's a dictator, who doesn't listen to the people of Jamaica. Is when, and I'm gonna drift away from the Constitution in a little bit, and go to the taxi, the poor paupers and bus and taxi drivers of this country. The Prime Minister himself went in to what's the place name? When he has his convention, he went right into
the National Convention.
Huh?
National Convention.
National. And tell the people of this country that this government will not bow to any group in this country. How on earth can the Prime Minister tell the people of the country that?
Call it back, Dr. Dumpy.
Huh?
Yes, but it's the same Prime Minister who said radam them, Radam them when you catch them. It's the same Prime Minister who says if a 15-year-old is caught with a gun, radam him or her, forgetting that we have created too much subliminal messages for our young people, and that because the pathway to wealth is not the easiest road and include everybody. People have chosen alternative way of getting there, and your political dynasties have given them platform to participate, because on both sides of the fence, they both benefit from the scarce benefits and spoil of the scammers, the this, the that. The JLP have theirs, the PMP have theirs. So when you create that space and you don't create a meaningful structure that will see to the development of all your people, then you have failed. And yes, to me, Prime Minister comes off a little bit as a SSR Führer. And not as the people servant, because none of the 62 people in Parliament, barring none, have behaved as if they are servants of the people. They are our God Almighty. And in the institutions of government in Jamaica, the very people who are supposed to be serving the Jamaican people have no regards for them. Prime Minister should not have at Duke Street two major government agencies such as the Registrar General and the police record office, and people have to stand in dreaded lines in sun, rain, and have them out there. No Prime Minister, we pay you to make our condition better. So no minister should get paid until our lives are better. Prime Minister is not talking about essential things like when people go to the KPH, and when he can fly out at the expense of the Jamaican people to any other international facility for his health and that of his family, and cockroaches are killing us at KPH. The wards are badly in need of refurbishing, and yet still you have the JDF sitting there who could be carrying out the refurbishing, so it not cost no great amount of money to the country, because these are people who are already recruited to do something, and half of the time we don't have any country that we're fighting against. They're underused. So yes, Prime Minister, you could be doing that. You could be creating a bigger space for small business people. But what we tend to get is this high-handedness, because somehow somebody tell them, say, boy, JLP is going to be our government forever because they're doing the best for the people. And so jokingly said to Nigel the other day, Nigel, I know that you're happy with your performance, but what happened to the ministers in the Minister of Finance in the household? And then Mr. People put up food price there everywhere. People in Jamaica are suffering because we export more than we are supporting our local farmers, and I would like the Minister of Agriculture to go out there and do more for the poor and the dispossessed. And I wish they would stop talking about the poor, because to me, everybody who talks about the poor gets richer, except the poor. They need to stop talking about what they can do for us, but actually do it. But we have to take a bigger seat at the table. We need to have term limit for Prime Minister and ministers, because some of them just sit down there and they won't even come out, and they're like malignant cancer on the society. They're killing us. They're stifling us with the old way. And going back to that fundamental point, Nigel and Andrew can laugh off of Mark Golding and the PMP and talk about them socialist policy. Is the same socialist message that they are sending out there to the people. Them can't fool some of the people sometimes, but them can't fool the people all the time. Is the same socialist message that them accuse the PMP of, that they are using, but they have modified it. And so they think that we're not looking and say, oh, same thing, no difference. Take all of their manifesto from 25 years ago and look at what they have put out there to the people, and tell me how much of this have they achieved for them to be sitting there and want to form governments. They need to shake up or leave. And I think the diaspora need to send them a strong message by closing down remittance and asking them, stop prostituting us and stop using us for scarce benefits and spoil, because we have the power to shut you down, right? I think that's what the diaspora, one voice. But when that will ever happen, I'm still prayerful and hopeful. I'm the eternal optimist that we will come together as one voice, because again, if they mess with the Constitution and them get them way with it, all people like me who can't call for the company program, because them are going to carry me go jail.
But you know, I'm going to carry in Sir Clark. But Dr. Francis, go ahead and say what you're going to say, sir.
I want to say that we also miss something too, that they are no different right now. The government are no different from the slave masters, because they have, no, they're not different. When you can take weed out of the hands, and I'm not a smoker, but I respect people who do, but I will take the medication. When you take that out of the small hand of the small man exclusively, right, and put it in the purview of the high society people, and trust me, I know quite a few of them, right?
The people
and then you go up, yeah, well, whatever, but you know, then you go and you import. How on God's earth can you import Blue Mountain coffee from Canada? How is it? How are you going to import Blue Mountain coffee or white rum? You can't do it. There's no Canadian soil and no what have you. What do you know what they have to do with it in order to get it to be like ours? I don't think that our people understand how important Jamaica is. Jamaica, people can't dance like Jamaica. People can't sing reggae like Jamaica. We can't go, they can't run like Jamaica. You know what I mean? But there are people.
And they can't signal the plane, the Jamaicans, them. Yes. We can't signal the plane.
Exactly. But you know something? They are some people, I believe, are trying to destroy the real Jamaica. And they're selling the idea that the diaspora is anti-Jamaican, right? That we don't love Jamaica. Foolishness. I've given more money to Jamaica than I've given to myself in all my years on this land. And I'm saying to you, and so on. And I have to sit down and meditate and say, people, and they are raising, the polls show people there are now aware. Do you know, let me just say you this, that the most influential nation in the world is Jamaica? If you take the 2 million people and you find out them cell phone and you multiply it and you do your little figurines and you look at statistics like when people are trying to fool us with the statistics the other day, you will find that we're the most influential people. And they are going to pay for that influence. So if they think that we are stupid and continue with this constitutional reform without including taking a look at our Bucky Master guy who looked like he just come from kindergarten, right? As to come to be our external international rep. Where the hell did he come from? Does he have any Jamaican roots? No, it hurts me and irks me because we have to understand and we have to let people know that we love Jamaica, right? And listen to Bob Marley. And that's why, they don't like people like Bob Marley, Martin Luther King, Malcolm. They don't like them because they tell, and don't forget, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Remember what they did to him. Our own Jamaicans, our own people, right? So let me make it quite clear. The churches, hold on, one last one. The church, I love the church. I'm a Christian. I can't even, I ask myself why, but I have to, that's how I was brought up. What are the churches doing in Jamaica? And they can vex me all they want. They can vex with me because I'm not churchified like you and I don't have you, but you can go and cuss me. But I am saying to you, you will be held accountable, not by me, but by God. You will be held accountable. And if your churches existed in the time of Jesus, it will turn over your tables then all over the place.
Remember that. Dr. Francis, the churches in Jamaica dead from Negril Point to Moran Point and dead. All they want to do is collect money from the poor, pauperizing people them like one political party which was just start up. Jeffrey, behave yourself tonight. Marcel Clark, come on and talk.
Jeffrey, I'm sure you want me talking because we might start mashing.
All they want to do is scam the poor people of this country.
We might start mash can.
We come.
Here, Jeffrey. We might start mash can and your phone will start ringing up.
Then who cares?
All right. I wanted to finish a point I made earlier. If you look at the robbery that happened in Montego Bay, I think it was last year, where they held up and shot some guards, and the sole survivor was the Chinese man that owned the cash. Didn't get a scratch. The amount of the hail of bullets of fire. The robbery in Clarendon at the supermarket, hail of bullets of fire. The Chinese never got hurt. Okay? And if you look at the Berylum robberies, tell me one passerby or tell me one other car other than a Berylum vehicle or one of the robber them vehicle where shot fire in. Something wrong with that picture. And this is the other reason why I'm scared of a Rocky Mead sitting on a committee like this. The other reason I'm scared is that you're going to have laws that protect the Chinese officially and protect the Indians officially and protect Uptown officially. When you have a person like somebody where it's a KC now that's sitting in one of the most powerful houses in God knows, as a person on that committee, I heard him made a statement and I showed there. He said that there's no corrupt judge in Jamaica.
Who? Which person?
One brown man, him wear one robe. Him wear one robe. One speaker at the house.
Him who?
Oh, yeah, him named Tavares. Tom Tavares.
Oh.
Yeah, him. He said there was no corrupt judge in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at him different. I had some respect for him. And I lost it right there. I'm being honest. And that is why I don't believe in the Privy Council being our last court. But I will settle for let me finish. I will settle for a Caribbean Court of Justice, but I won't settle for a Jamaican final court because I wouldn't trust someone who sit at the top. But I will settle for a person that are culturally orientated to us, other than some people will never stay a plane door for much as coming to the Caribbean to understand the culture of Jamaicans. I've seen laws that are interpreted from their eyes. And it's the same thing happened with the Bible. We read the Bible with Jamaican eyes and I try to fit the scripture that was written for the Middle Eastern people into a Jamaican culture, and it can't work. And that
Well,
is what we do in a lot of the laws.
you know something? And I get justice to come back in. You know something? I question myself many times. And why I do so is because I sometimes when I come on programs like these, I ask myself, does it benefit my own people? Or we'll just come and chat because we want chat. And
No, man.
Hold on for me, Justice. I want to say something. Hold on. I'm going to come in. But when you sit down and you look what the Prime Minister is trying to do, and when I was growing up, I've always heard that the military should be independent of any political apparatus or organization in this country. So how is it? Not because he may retire. Why is the Prime Minister putting so much people of the military beside him? Something wrong somewhere. And not a soul from the diaspora sitting on the board. And yet the Prime Minister in Washington a couple of months ago referred to the people of the diaspora as his friends. The Prime Minister of Jamaica needs to tell the people of this country, why didn't you put a member of the diaspora on the Constitutional Reform Board? Why? Why is it Rocky Mead? You not give Rocky Mead ambassador plentiful already? One more full in, one full up. Justice?
Well, it was the same question when Major Anderson, is it Major? Major Anderson was still the Prime Minister advisor and yet still the Commissioner of Police. Wasn't there a breach in? Wasn't that a conflict of interest to have somebody being your special advisor on crime and then play the role of police commissioner? The truth of the matter is that I don't think leadership in Jamaica is open to having people with an opinion that is not politically clouded participating in any discussion. And it is for that reason that you know that the agendas are not going to serve the entire Jamaica, because you already get a sense that if the PMP is in, is the PMP's way or no way at all. And so there is no sort of appreciation of what the opposition is saying, vice versa. And yet still you have people in the political dynasty like Richard Azan, who right across the board, they talk about Richard loving the Jamaican people and him share with the labor right them. And it's the same thing with Bobby Montague. And of that greatest love that labor right have is for the Portia Simpson Miller, because Portia love people right across the board. The fact of the matter though, when you get on these programs, I understand that frustration. The Jamaican people see our role as not important because we have been beaten on, trod upon. Sometimes them send people come at your yard to intimidate you, or you suddenly find say you lose a job or you're thrown off a committee and they make your life a living hell. And a lot of people are very unhappy with what is happening in our country, but we choose to look the other way because, especially when you have family, if it was you alone that they were going to target, sometimes it's an entire family because the dynasty is set up that way. And this is where you can't even see which party is the better of the two evil, because the structure holds in both of them, although people will tell you, oh, PMP is the lesser of all evil. I believe that we must rail against disappointment, because again, I'm saying that the Constitution forms the fundamental base of the rights of your citizen. It is the document that speaks to how transparent and accountable and what is there for you as the ordinary citizen to hold your government to. And you notice that constitution education that we used to learn through civics for young Jamaican, that book has come out of circulation for the longest while. I just found a copy that used to basically educate the Jamaican public, Jeffrey, on their rights and how the institutions of government must. That should never have come out of circulation, just as how you should have taught the philosophy and opinion of Marcus Garvey. And for people to understand how important, and I guess Marcus Garvey, like Paul Bogle and Sam Shaw and William Gordon, must have died from a broken heart, because the very people sometimes you fight for will say, give us Barabbas, because they have very limited expectation of their roles and their rights. So it's like them, you always say, oh, I chew them a big man, them get for them way. So we not push. We don't push hard enough. We don't knock on enough door. We don't have, you notice that no university is taken to the streets in Jamaica anymore to fight against something like the government wants to take away public beaches. Everybody in Jamaica should have get up and say, Mr. Wallace, now evil bala come with that. We not take that from you. But the Jamaican people are just, them feel so tired, but we have to re-energize ourselves, you know, because as my brother Clark said, you know, and as Dr. Francis said, and as you are rightfully saying, we're going to get up in this country one morning, if we're not very careful, and find that all our rights have been eliminated.
You know?
And we are now going to be prisoners of the states, right? You know, so you have to continue, Jeffrey, this discussion. One of the things that I said to some persons from the diaspora is that if the diaspora could form themselves with what is called the Global Diaspora Committee for the re-energizing, redevelopment, and re-socialization of Jamaica, and then put yourself in every parish that these discussions can take place, you can feel the pulse of the Jamaican people, and you give them information now that will help them to better understand what is happening. If you guys don't come and share some of the things that you're sharing, you know, and people have labeled now as troublemaker, half of the Jamaican people, this is kept away from the Jamaican people, because one of the fundamental things that I always say now is how them use these beautiful language to cover the multitude of their sin. The ordinary man understand the efficacy of the budget the other day. Nigel Clark does. Nigel Clark does. And Mr. Webby does. And Mr. Richard Bile does. And Mr. Leachin does. And you can, but the Jamaican people don't know what it means for them. And those are the fundamental things that you need to address. When you are going to put out a budget, you have to put out the things for, say, Ministry of Social Welfare get this amount of money for do this. There was a report that the Accountant General put out in 2010 to 15 that says almost $15 billion were unaccounted for that was allotted to the ministry, and nobody took it on. Nobody said, where did this money go? So now we hear $1 trillion is going to be spent, and only people now like the Jamaica portal that yes, Jeanette Calder and is asking for them to come out and say how these money are used. And she's doing these workshops on helping people to understand how you track the money. We need to do more of that. How you track the money to ensure that it is meeting the needs that it's there for. So constitutional reform, it can be a big thing where the whole of Jamaica are going there at the table, but at least at the parish level, you should see people participating. At the diaspora level, you should see a representation of the America, Canada, and certainly Africa, because we have to reform the thing in such a way that is going to help the ordinary people now to hold everybody feet to the fire, whether it's the superintendent at the local police station versus the lady at RDV and Andrew Holness. And in it, we must fight for term limits because we need to get rid of some of these people. As I said, they're a cancer. I mean, you have a speaker of the house that is implicated in land matter, and you're still in the house?
Yes.
Your name not clear, and you're still there?
She still sit there. Because
No,
because
hold on,
what?
let me tell you
Hold on for
something.
me, Dr. Francis. I'm going to come in. Go ahead.
No, let me tell you something. Someone said that I heard it from Cliff Hughes himself. It looked like Andrew Wall is planning to lose the election. Or he doesn't plan to even lose it ever again. He should have added. Because the fact of the matter, I have no problem with yes, he's done a number of things to Jamaica that has not been done before. But we are also more heavily in debt and what have you. I don't know how we're going to get out of it. But then I'm not the Prime Minister, and I'm not as smart as the Prime Minister. So therefore,
Wish to God he was.
No, hold on. Listen, listen. Everybody have their talent. What I'm trying to say to you is this: that the average lot of the poor people of Jamaica, look at it, cannot be solved by $5,000, $3,000 per week extra. The average lot of the people of Jamaica cannot be solved without good housing, reasonable housing, which is available. And yet the richer folks, the bigger folks, it cannot be solved, as Luke Lord said, by importing more than you're exporting. Cannot be solved. So that, you can't fool nobody with that, except certain people. And you cannot steal your way out of it, just like all the Valerian people cannot steal themselves out of this. They're not fooling anybody. Money is in Jamaica. Jamaica is prime for everybody want to invest in Jamaica. But where's the money going? Is it staying in Jamaica or is it going away? You understand me? You think you can do that with the Saudi Arabia man? You can't do that with him, with his money. He know that. So don't you know who to fight?
But
so he's
Dr. Francis, hold on a minute for me, Dr. Francis. Dr. Francis, hold on a minute for me. Your audience coming in echoing. There's something going on with your audience. It's echoing. I don't know what's going on. Try and fix that for me, no?
I was turned off my phone, so maybe that I don't know if that will help. So let me. Yeah.
So George, go ahead for me.
Yeah, turn on my phone. Yeah, I turn on my phone. But what I'm trying to say,
you see, one of the things is that, as I said, Jeffrey, we have to continue to push the narrative at this level and in other discussion about, Dr. Francis said, it's not that he has not done some things for Jamaica that we have never seen before. And I'd say to Dr. Francis, name me 5. Because to me, he has certainly implemented the PMPs, a lot of the PMP policies that they sat on the money waiting for the next election to dole out. But again, how has that benefited the ordinary people? So look at something like this now, Dr. Francis. In this new constitution, you can speak to, because Jamaica has a lot of truancy and we have a lot of young men now out there with training, military style training, and other things that they might use for undesirable behavior. We are going to start the National Cadet Program with the JDF. And the National Cadet Program will take all of these young people that are at risk of behavior modification or at risk of becoming members of the gang, and we're going to have them in the cadet program where they are going to do some curriculum, because we're going to do the psychometric testing to see their capability and competence. They're going to do curriculum, they're going to do skill, and they're going to do leadership and civic responsibility. And so there, you don't necessarily send them home, because one of the things that you should have learned from when they commissioned that study on how many of the gang leaders were high school students and which school did they come from, they recognize, like, for instance, somebody like Dog Paw, who was being mentored by environmental specialist Miss Macaulay, or what's her name was, that when he went back to his community, he said it's a jungle out there and I had to fight like a tiger and a lion to survive. So the National Cadet Program would be an institutional program where we're training a set of Jamaicans. So instead that they're on the street and nobody know, because remember when school reopened, almost 700 students did not return and will not return. They are part and parcel of something out there that we have not yet figured it out. But the National Cadet Program would make sure that you catch them. Instead of you introduce Mead, wish you could have introduced something far different from NID that would work, because NID is a seemingly is a program that was instituted by Israel to exclude the Palestinian people. You could have looked at Curacao, who you get a national identity number at the age of 13, and it forms your medical record. It works like a TRN. So these people are in the National Cadet Program, and they're there and they're expected to run a school term, and they're assessed because you have the psychologists, you have the criminologists there, and you're looking at behavior modification taking place. These are the new and innovative ideas that we have to put if we're going to stem the amount of, because the teachers in the classroom are afraid of these guys, But if you have them in a military training facility where they are going to be given that sort of contact time, and the program is structured and they see that they're achieving, it can begin to change mindset. I'm not saying that is the only answer. I believe that the Constituency Development Fund must be put in a cooperative where the citizen decides on the most important thing to their needs. So there has to be a way. You have to re-educate Jamaicans about the whole importance of money, because out of every dollar in Jamaica, 70.
Hold on there for me, Sir George. Sorry to be cutting in your conversation here, but yes, we need to educate them. But what we need to educate them first and foremost on, though, because a lot of people do not know, have never seen a copy of the Jamaican Constitution.
True. Yeah, and I said it earlier on.
Yes. A lot of young Jamaicans have never seen the Constitution. The Constitution is not even being taught in school.
Yes, but Jeffrey, what you need to do is do town halls, and long time ago, what Luke said in regards to the NIDS program and so on. It should not be exclusionary. Everybody who is in Jamaica should have a ID card of sorts, no matter who, either high, low, or in between. And all deportees in particular, as they come in, they should be given one, so that we know where to find them. Do we know how to find them? No. The fact of the matter is that there are so many things that are right with Jamaica, but there are so many things that are wrong with Jamaica. And yes, I must give kudos to people who have been working. There are many hardworking politicians out there, and what have you. But at the same time, and other persons in the society. But I know that there are a lot of well-thinking Jamaicans out there, and they know what is at stake. But I want to know if you need to educate the young people as to the Constitution, what it entails. Why is it important? What are rights? What can they take a look at this SOE? It's been there too long. You don't ever have an SOE, for so long. It's impossible. It's unlawful. Right? No matter who says it. It's unlawful. Not intended for that purpose. And listen to me. So therefore, until the people of Jamaica understand that their rights are being trampled on, and I'm not talking about the human rights who come in here trying to look for this type of human right that is they're going to put through Africa and all over the place. Mr. Clark is right. If you do not, if you do not look at this, Jamaica will not be the Jamaica that you know, with the freedom of thinking, the freedom of singing, the freedom of being who you are. Right? And I'm
one thing I know,
What?
One thing that I know. One thing that I am certain of.
Yes.
If this present Prime Minister continue with his dictatorial behavior, he's pushing the Jamaican people back against the wall, and they're going to rebel. They are going to rebel, and I'm saying to him this evening, Prime Minister Andrew Michael Holness, the time has come for you to put young people of the lower end of society on the Constitutional Reform Committee. Get rid of Rocky Mead. Look, George.
Well, you've forgotten one thing, and what happened in Parliament the other day, you know. I'm
not going to talk about that, you know.
Huh?
I'm not going to talk about that because I have somebody coming on who I'm going to ask that question to. Because if you can have the Speaker of the House is telling the Parliament and the people of Jamaica that she don't hear certain things, that means she need a hearing aid. She need an ear and throat specialist. And how dare Everald Warmington, who has no credibility, to be getting up and talking about the Speaker must call out Angela Brown-Burke. I'm going to make something clear this evening. I am not a member of any political party. My gearbox smash up. But as far as I am concerned, Everald Warmington have no moral authority. What he goes on in the Parliament with, he should be sitting in the House of Parliament. Sir Luke George?
Well, you say you're not going there, but I found it strange. I found it strange, and if I was Miss Brown-Burke, I would not apologize. I think Miss Dalrymple I thought that they shouldn't wear an hearing aid. And I just think that it is distasteful when I saw somebody like Ed Bartlett talking about excusing it. He being the Minister of Tourism and knowing that a word like massa, if it is used in the hotel, it can be seen as is a racial slur. And you're getting up to put Angela in her place. And we have sat in the Parliament and hear Warmington call Lisa Hanna from some of the worst things that Jezebel and so forth. And then from his Dalrymple to talk about Michael Andrew Holness says that the conduct of parliamentarian must be of such when some of the most outrageous things have come from Mr. Warmington, including him, the Prime Minister, when he said, it is the people of my constituency who elected me, and I'm not answerable to anybody else. He has been very disrespectful to everybody. So I just thought that it was a little bit disingenuous, and then to end the Parliament and then to continue the discussion, forgetting that Lisa tried to say, but madam, on both sides of the fence, we have done things in this Parliament that can be deemed as unparliamentary procedure. And therefore, I think you were a little bit disingenuous. And for Miss Brown-Burke to feel that she had to defend herself by saying, shut up. We derived our political system from Britain. And in that House of Commons, my God, the things that are said are awful. I just think that the whole 63 of them should just get up one day and do the Jamaican people a favor and resign. Because there is not one of them that people have any great amount of respect for. The only people who find them to be useful still are the people who want to gain political favor, the people who pay for election with the intention to get a big payout. We, the poor people, don't pay for election. We are partisan and we participate in the process, but we don't seem to understand that there is somebody who continue to pull the string, and nobody in the Parliament have the right to talk about their moral integrity. They have lost that. Even those who come in there and have reverence or any such title before, prefixing their name, they have lost the Jamaican people. Jamaican people lose their respect for them. And if I was Miss Brown-Burke, there's no way I'm going to apologize. Miss Dalrymple needs to apologize to us as the Speaker of the House to have her name in a land matter. when she's sending the wrong sending the wrong tone to young people that her name can be in there and not excuse herself from the politics until she's exempt of that. A person is guilty. A person is not guilty until proven so. And I think that if you have people out there thinking that you are in a land matter where you are taking other person's property without the right of
estate, man.
Right. And it's the same thing with the Bernard Lodge property. The things that are still out there. Jeffrey, it to me is like Stockholm syndrome. We just know so them wicked and bad, and we just have come to accept it. I saw me see it in Jamaica. We have become the proverbial turtle. We talk about it, we're frustrated by it. It makes us angry when we have to talk about our government. And when you see them on the center stage of the world giving this picture of Jamaica, I'm gonna blame people like the international community, you know, like the IMF and the IDB. Oh, them representative no. But when you are give people your money for spend, shouldn't you really go to the people and where it is allegedly spent on and say, how you feel about this? You know what them doing with development money now? Them come in a community and them give you some money, and if them not like you because you're not speaking the language of the party of the day, them tell the people them say don't deal with you. So the money is now being used as, again, Dr. Francis, as the divide and rule. So you have a parliament with two tribal party in there, and the people them now vote for them independent candidate that have the capability of doing it. You must find a man in your constituency where can better represent your constituency than the brother and the sister were down there. You understand? So we have to think outside of the box and say, we are going to nominate a man from our constituency that we think that person have our best interest at heart, because it not now going to change, you know. Not now going to change until them see in a parliament some fresh new and a third set of people in there. Or wanna go for coalition government. Vote for people where you think are going to do the performance and what we saw we do. Do that for 2 terms of the parliament, 2 terms of the election, and see where you're going to go. Nigel now no money for local government election, but him can fix everybody else's problem. And the truth of the matter, I think that we need to get up with one voice. I'm hoping the day will come when we'll get up with one voice and tell them, look here, enough is enough. We're tired of it, just go on down the yard and we get the country on track. Because as you said, Jamaica have the ability to be a super country in the world. When me hear Mayor Motley talk, even about Michael Manley at Nelson Mandela 20th, and talk about Michael Manley's contribution and that of the Jamaican musician, and you can't name, but you all know now struggle for me. But Marley a national hero, and him not do worse than when none of you do.
And Miss Lou.
Come on. You can't make Rihanna a national hero for Barbados. Rihanna don't even walk close to Bob's achievement. But and the issues that Bob took on.
But yet, this Governor General accept the advice of the Prime Minister to give Mrs. Warmington some order old donkey or whatever. Well, Warmington cost the people of this country. He has no respect for the ladies of this nation.
No, Mr. Warmington who told the Prime Minister hold back benefits from the people until you know how them vote.
There you go. You give him a national award. This
yeah.
Is in which
and then you know.
In which modern democracy do we have a Speaker of the House who is before the court and still sitting there? In which other modern democracy is nonsense more than in Jamaica?
Them bad and them strong. Them born low, grow cheap, them have bad habit. And this is a fundamental problem, you know. Why I tell you that the youth them now, you know, really don't have no trust in our system of governance, because if it was another person, Dr. Francis, you know, a man pick Akia for the Governor General property and get 6 months in prison. Seriously? This is a big Seventh-day Adventist man who say him used to be president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, you know. Where's the compassion of God? You should glad the man pick it, because you should glad him not out there are people. That's his livelihood. That is his livelihood. Governor General. Look here. The Shaggy, you know how much young people the other day agree with Shaggy say, look here, you're the only man will come. The only man People beg Shaggy all the time and cuss him because him not like give money. Because him said, theme thing is the children hospital. Now, the Bustamante Children's Hospital is the only hospital of its kind in the Eastern English-speaking Caribbean. And a man, I do so much. I want to have people up there. This was the same hospital, you know, that Lieutenant Colonel Oscar Darby can tell you, Dr. Rupert Francis, that my niece went up there to do a procedure when she was in a car accident and almost lost her foot. So much so that her mother is so terrified that she is supposed to go back and do skin graft. And the child is growing with that permanent scar because the mother feared that the child might be hurt by the administration, because if you ever saw them deal with it. Lieutenant Colonel Darby and I were visiting my niece, and they were using 2 sets of chemical, and he was pointing out to them that under the UN Charter, you don't use 2 sets of chemical around patients in hospital because it can go, it has serious medical. And we were told off. We were told off, and when we complained to the administrator and the CEO of the hospital, you know, how Jamaican pay your platitude. Okay, we take that report. That's very good, man. Thank you for the report. But you know, Rupert Francis, there is not going to be anything that says anything that going to come out of it, because all that they do to the Jamaican people is that when a lot of people complain and a Rupert Francis and a Jeffrey Tavares join that complaint, them come and apologize and them say they're going to make it better, but it never really changed. So the challenge is every Jamaican, as Tony Lang said, has to see Jamaica as a company, and we all have to manage her so that she can continue to play her part in safeguarding the welfare of the whole human race. We have to ignite a spirit of togetherness again, and not allow the Willie Lynch theory that is being perpetuated by the PMP and the JLP to keep us separate and apart. Imagine I have friends that I went to school are going to tell me about their diet labor right. I can't be anything but a diet Jamaican. And the labor, when the labor right them mess up, me I call them out. When the PMP them mess up, me I call them out, because at the end of the day, one Jamaica. One man, one vote, same man, same vote, and we must make sure that there's collective security for surety. There is too much inequity, and that is why you're seeing more and more Rupert Francis, the boy, them act out Hollywood movie in today's Jamaica, and Rocky Mead and Mr. Anderson and Mr. Holness should resign on the basis that you have now failed the Jamaican people, because if you can't even secure the basic security, you told us on day one in your government that we can sleep with our doors and window open. Why? You have failed. You have failed in that regard. So when the other guy did say one divine intervention, on a create man sound, you can't do nothing about them. Drugs man have more money than on Doppel Film did a walk around with MP, a noted wanted man in Jamaica, and it continues to this very day. You are sending mixed messages to the young people of Jamaica.
It doesn't say, Luke, and Brother Jeffrey, that the Dons did a better job in Jamaica than the politicians are doing right now. Because under the Dons, I hate to say it, but under the Dons, you dare not break the rule. You understand me? You dare not, and I'm not saying it is right, because I have a lot of respect for the Cosa Nostra. That is the mafia. I have a lot of respect for them. They have a code of honor. It seems to me that there is no code of honor. Okay, there's no code of honor. You can't see people killing children, people doing this, people doing that, taking people's lives willingly, and you do nothing about it. Yet, if they take someone's life who you know within the next hour, or say something about somebody you know, you arrest them within half an hour. It does not make sense. And the people of Jamaica are now recognizing, as you're quite right to say, that the water no level, and someone get basket to carry water. And the fact of the matter is, though, that in the diaspora, let me say this, they have been able to divide and rule us, and so I am looked like an ogre. So sometimes I just don't want to say anything. Because, you know, they say they don't love Jamaica. What nonsense. I have invested in Jamaica, still invest in Jamaica, and what have you. I still do a lot of, but I'm not telling everybody. But the fact of the matter is that if you care about Jamaica and you love Jamaica and you are representing Jamaica, I tried several years, as you know. I didn't make it in terms of that. And maybe God had a reason why. Because maybe, and I'm not going to go into certain things to show you how, because when I said to someone, how does a politician make money? And if you know who it is, the man rock back in them chair and laugh after me, and you know, so that man don't laugh. The man don't laugh normally. I say, okay, Captain. Not say nothing more. I say, okay. Right? Because he knew better. But the fact of the matter is this, that I don't believe, if I give you my word as my service in the military, wherever, okay, I'm not perfect. I may have done, I've done things I'm not proud of. But the point about it, when you come to your country, as you just rightly said, Mr. Jeff and Mr. Bogus just said earlier, you have to have your navel string somewhere, and you have to have your loyalty, or you're nothing. And I want the people who are now governing and the people in opposition to understand that we in Jamaica want to go. I want to say this thing here. If you go and tell somebody, I have said to people, out of a joke, you sound Jamaican, they take it as a compliment. Yet if you say they sound Russian or Chinese, they're vexed. You understand me? But if you say you're Jamaican, they say you're cool. You know what I mean? You're just cool. Okay, gentlemen, we are speaking to the choir here, and I hope other people are listening to see how, if they listen to us, if they work with us, and they try to influence those around them and leave the money out of I've never seen a U-Haul there in a hearse. So all the money that they're acquiring, where are they going to put it? More than likely, their children will come up with waste. Okay.
Something?
Focus on Jamaica, because that will be your legacy. That is all I have to say about that part.
I am going to play something that you all can listen to. And I hope in the formulation of our new constitution that the Prime Minister don't have the ultimate power to appoint Commissioner of Police. And the Prime Minister have the ultimate power to appoint a Rocky Mead. We need a constitution like the American Constitution, where the Senate, if you appoint a Luke George, the Senate vet a Luke George and say if Luke George must be appointed. No one done in this country mustn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm. But you see,
you mean the spirit of the
I don't know why Luke George don't go, go into it, because I tell you something. No.
Listen to this for me.
No, listen to me.
Hold on for me, Dr. Francis. Right. Hold on for me. Listen to this, please.
Can't hear.
Hold on. Hold on.
Yep.
Can't hear it.
Can't hear it. Jeff, we can't hear it. Jeff, we can't hear it.
You're not hearing it, Salu?
No,
we're not hearing it.
We know the speech, though. We know the speech.
I'm gonna try something.
Luke had mentioned it before. Luke,
yes.
It's no, wow. 30 minutes past the time, and I think that we have to revisit this whole business of
Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Well, I was trying to play it, but it ended up playing. you know, we came on here, we talk about our constitution. And based on the comment I'm getting on the platform here, a lot of people have never seen a copy of the constitution.
But a copy not going to help us.
We have what?
A copy is not going to help us. You know? What we need to do is to educate the people according to
What
the
I'm saying to you, that's what I'm saying, Sir Francis. Hello? I'm hearing a feedback.
Yeah, man, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
What I'm saying, a lot of people have never seen the constitution, not even a copy of it. Yes, we need to educate the people. So what I'm asking now, do you believe, Justice George, that when they have this reform, Luke, I can call it Luke then.
Yeah, please.
When they have this reform, do you believe that they're gonna go around and ask the people of Jamaica question pertaining to the constitution, or the reform of the constitution? And if the people don't understand the constitution,
again, Jeffrey, it's like 25 years ago, you know, under the PJ administration, when they talked about moving to the whole idea of republic. The Jamaican people are almost being led to the Red Sea without any guidance from the Almighty. We don't even know who holds the staff to the road to. Because if you can't manage a country on an oppressed system that we derive from the colonial, and you have oppressed your people for far so long using this documentation, how are you going to reform it that it works for all Jamaican and not just some? And why is there not a consultation taking place as to what is constitutional reform alongside what it means for us to become republic? The truth of the matter, you know, is that Buster would have done a better job at killing this thing when, like what he did when Norman Malley talked about the same reform that Norman Malley came up with, that Buster went and tell the common people, oh, Norman, what that reform means for you is you buy one cow, and my cousin Norman one, when you sell the cow, other people will never put any money to it, take the benefit, and when they don't get any benefit. So the document that we're talking about that is essential to the fundamental of the Jamaican people, you know, ask them, them don't. In other words, you're right, Jeffrey, we don't know it. We don't know why it's said. We only know people say, we have a constitution. The only people who have studied the craft and understand this constitution are the people who have gained ill gains by having this documentation in place. And then them talk about ignorance of the law there's no ignorance of the law. First comment, again, you are not even teaching it in school. There is nothing that you can talk to at least 3 generations of Jamaica about a constitution. So should the constitution be put to a vote where the Jamaican people lend their voice to whether or not they want it to be reformed before understanding what exists now? Because we cannot allow a new set of authors to go and edit that document without our blood, sweat, and tears being protected. And so the citizen will know it's right. It's almost like when we went to school and we had to learn the memory gem for our English classes. You have to teach them. And in that, Jeffrey, look at how speedily they are pushing the whole idea about us becoming a republic. You understand? But those discussions started 25 years ago. It is not new, and the fear is that if it is authored by the political party. So I believe that this thing should have been spearheaded by the institution that is called the Institute of Jamaica. Again, like Vision 2030, it has the broadest consultation where you bring people from every walk of life. It's not just based in Kingston. You notice on that committee, you don't see nobody from country. Maybe them born a country, but them come at all. But you notice you don't see nobody from country. Because them got like country people full, you know.
Yeah,
You don't see nobody them from country. So it has to be
only the people of Upper St. Andrew and Cherry Garden and the people of the Vumvavon, the Vumvavine.
And one pastor where everybody like.
All right.
One pastor where everybody like. So again, you can't go reform something and leave out the majority of Jamaican. And we should send a message to the Prime Minister that if you try these reform and don't educate us on what the Republic status means, in the current stage where you have people getting prescription on NHF that has no food in their house. So we have a lot of people with chronic illness, but them can't eat. You have people who you send to the public health hospital, but them don't have an X-ray machine. So how is it that you're going to reform for better my life when what you have you not do it? And when you are going to get ultimate power, how are you going to do it? So we can't be sidelined towards the development in our best interest, you know. And if a politician did probably know say him have a term limit, after 2 terms him can't go back there. Maybe them that do more for the Jamaican people. Because my cousin has crafted the definition of JLP, Jamaican love poverty. And for the PMP, poor nigga poor. In all the developed years of Jamaica as a society, why is it that 75% of the nation lives under poverty? And even the civil servants that will curse sometimes why them thief so much is because the living wages, what they make versus their living wages are far too low. So they are working poor. Why can't we see it better? Now, you know, when I hear Keith Duncan, who became president of the private sector, says that we have high-end jobs in Jamaica, but not competent people, and we need to export people to Jamaica to take those jobs. Shame on you and Mr. Duncan. Shame on you. You have students in here passing 13 CXC, students who can't go to medical school. That's their dream of adding their voice to medicine, but them can't pay the $7 million at university. And now University of the West Indies is telling me that it's broke. Where is the money going? Follow the money and see who are the thief. Jeffrey, if you, me, Doc, recognize that what pays in Jamaica is crime, there is no political will to get rid of it.
None.
No political will.
Let me tell you something. You asked the question. You know, our first governor was a pirate, Henry Morgan, and it seems to me that that's been handed down over the years. Because no, think about it. I mean, you know, we have not improved ourselves in some instances, since 1962. And what I saw the other day, I saw a beautiful concept of what is going to happen in the next 10 years. Bloody hell, you may not say in the next 10 minutes. You may not be alive in about 10 years. I am saying to you, these people think that they can fool people. That's why I'm so depressed, I think. Because you can, and people are actually sitting down and listening to it. And when you hear, listen to me, my friend, I know that there are good people in Jamaica. But I know that there are bad people in Jamaica. And they say they love Jamaica, but they don't. And the people will find out, and there'll be a day of reckoning. But I'm just saying to you that we need to understand that what is happening in Jamaica is no mistake. In 2016, we went to Jamaica, and everybody cussed Mr. when he was the Minister of Security at the time. When name again?
Peter
From
Bunting.
St. Mary.
Bobby Montague?
Yes, Mr. Montague. They cussed him. But he welcomed us. The opposition welcomed us, and we spoke and so on. We got involved in things. The diaspora was, as Lucas said, we were involved. And ever since certain people come on the scene, I go down.
Is it Dr. Francis? Is it that Dr. Horace Chung do not respect the members of the diaspora? Why he doesn't engage the members of the diaspora, sir?
Listen to me. I cannot speak for Dr. Chang, but what he said spoke for himself. He said that we can give our money, but we're not. We're not. We're cool. But you know, he's a friend of mine from a long time, and I can't really speak the way I'd like to speak about Dr. Chang.
Why? Because he's your
Honestly,
friend?
no. I can't listen to me. Let me just leave it. I'm just saying to you, I don't think he could have meant that because they don't know the person that I know. Because he knows different. 3.5 million different is a difference of coming down to the country. And let me make it quite clear right now, the opposition really to the government is the social media, which is absolutely driven by from the diaspora and many other places, but they're driven. Let me tell you something, my friend. Jamaicans have talent. The young people have talent. You know what I see a lot of young people in Jamaica doing? They are more prolific on social media and making movies and getting some of them stop working and they are selling the movies worldwide to people who can't even understand them. You hear what I'm saying?
George, behave yourself.
Yes.
What you have there?
Yes, I read those books, yes.
The new civics for young Jamaica?
Yes. But I'm just saying, I see.
I can't see that one.
We need, listen to me.
It says the Jamaica Constitution.
Yes, man. Yeah.
There you go.
But I'm just saying to you, hold on. The point I'm trying to make is, my friend, a lot of people don't understand how important the Constitution is. It's our Bible.
Yeah.
Right? And
we should teach it like the Quran.
Yeah. It's not
and
like
the Holy Bible.
Yeah, it's not like the same Bible where they take out what they want and leave the rest. That is what some people want to do. To take out what they want and then leave the rest. Right? But it must not happen. And good people can't. What is wrong with them?
What is Mr. Rocky Mead's expertise when it comes to constitution, let alone constitution reform? It's like giving a ministry to a man who has absolutely no understanding of the fundamental of how that thing works, but you give it to him because of political, he has sat in that political party for a long time. And him going there and make a mess of it because him can't listen to the technical directors who have the expertise. We here, Jeffrey, need to set up a constitution reform task force. Look, examine the other one, and we need to present to the people of Jamaica our findings and why we would recommend that some laws and bylaws be changed where it increases the participation of the Jamaican citizen. If we leave it up to them, Jeffrey Tavares, Rupert Francis, Luke George Cook, let me tell you, God help us. But God has given the capacity to a Rupert Francis. We can set up a task force, to look at the Constitution, because it should have been, it has to be our new mandate. We have to look at it. Similar like how we need to set up parliamentary papers and help people to understand how the country can better reform from some of the things that we're talking about. Because why do we have expertise but we don't use them? Why don't we put them in a think tank sort of a thing? And so every time the parliament goes to go to parliament open, the diaspora and the civil society is independently preparing a paper for the Jamaican people to understand that everybody can and relate to. Why we don't set up one of those sites where we talk about, where we invite people and we put out ideas out there that can reform the Jamaican system. There are several things that you have to focus on, to drive home to people the importance of what needs to be reformed and how it must be reformed. And you see, Dr. Francis, and this is what people are tired of. People are looking a way out, and they're looking to people like forward-thinking people like yourself, you gentlemen on the panel, to start to refute some of the lies that they are being told. Dr. Francis, how does a politician go in poor as Lazarus, who used to eat from Davy's table, and come out owning Davy's job and everybody estate? How does that happen in a poor society? How do we buy Range Rover for every prime minister, and them can't live up a Vale Royal because them have 2 and 3 house, and yet still we're maintaining the Vale Royal property that nobody seems to use. I hear that it's sort of a whorehouse, a prime minister who wants to take your mistress. I don't know, but the fact of the matter is that this is a challenge to us, that for us to be relevant,
hold on there.
We must present.
Repeat what you said. Vale Royal become a what?
A whorehouse that prime minister takes their mistress.
I know you're here that you're not listening, you're asleep, but you see you hear about the whorehouse.
Yeah.
But hold on here now. Hold on here now. I heard that Vale Royal look like when, because if I shut down like this, you know, and it's paid up in living there.
Yeah, well, some people are afraid of Duppy because them have them phobia, man. If them never kills
Jeffrey, Vale Royal is a wonderful property. It's a historic property. And let me make it quite clear. Maybe they want to knock it down and put up condominiums and what have you, but that is so what shall I say? It is going back thousands years. We need to have things to remind us of where we're coming from. Vale Royal is one of those properties that if it is done like Devon House and all that sort of, it can be of immense value. Historic. It is of immense value. And so we should make them stop doing that, using taxpayers' money to prop up their own property. If you pay one little money like how you people go to the Institute at Jamaica, students go there for educational value, and tourists go there for to be educated, and your signpost aspect of it and who lived there when and the history. You can use it as an income for the national heritage and to maintain some aspect. But the point is, Jeffrey, I don't want you to escape the point that I'm making. It is for us to form an independent task force to look at the concept. If they don't invite us to the table, let us invite ourselves. This is the existing one, but we would like to see it reform. And the summary to the reform is because it must work for everybody. So we have the full constitution, and then we're going to have a summary page like Vision 2030, where we break down what it is that we put in the reform and why we think that it is important for the full development and the participation of the Jamaican people. So no politician can set up constituency committee without having representatives from every aspect of that community on it. And it don't play to the parliament, and it must have the business people, it must have those sector represented, so that the development of the constituent is dealt with at a wider level. And so too should be the government of Jamaica, because you can't make a decision for me without including me. You just can't. Also, we need a publication of the composition of the current committee, what their instructions are, and we need at least the current thing, and then as they move along, we need to see that as well in progress. Because
exactly.
So if we do not have eyes and so on, because let me make it quite clear. Just between the three of us here, we have been able to delve into the Constitution and see how important it is. Our young people, let me tell you, Mr. Prime Minister, whoever is listening, anybody listening, the future of the Jamaica doesn't belong to us. It depends to the next generation. And if we don't really educate them, what is happening in the schools is going to be amplified. What's happening everywhere else, and the families will be thrown, and the entire Jamaican, what we call our legacy, will be destroyed. Let me make it quite clear that we came down, as I said, and finished, and they have not utilized much of what, if anything at all. Right? People don't listen, and if you don't listen, something you will feel. That's what they Jamaica. You can't hear, you will feel. The fact of the matter is, we don't have anybody who are special or what have you, and so, but we do know what we know. And if we're out there in the diaspora, as Luke was alluded to, and we are learning new things, and we're developing new ways, we're everywhere, right? Why can't we use some of this expertise to develop that one thing, that Blue Mountain coffee, that reggae and that rum called Jamaica, and now weed which we're exporting to Canada and things better than ours? Why don't we really sell that? You know, and instead of taking Bolt's money, right, we encourage more Bolts to come out there and what have you. Why are we dragging down our old people? Because that boy don't want to listen to him. He don't have nothing. He just vexed and angry and jealous. No. Every dog have his day, and it will post at this 4 o'clock. Let me just say. And I didn't know what it means until very recently. So I'm saying to you, if you love Jamaica, really truly love Jamaica, as you brothers express, then we would look to it, and we would try to preserve the culture and preserve what we have got, the things that we've been given, and move forward. And yes, I'm with the task force. I am with, let's form that task force. If everybody is brave enough to look at the constitutional reform, let's announce it. Let's get it out there so that we can say to them, look, you don't want us to know what we have been doing. And that guy who they bring in, he look like an old crook. Although he looks so innocent. I don't care, and I don't know him, and I don't want to know him. He has nothing to do with Jamaica as a constitutional expert. Him look like a puss with a bag over the face. No, listen to it. I tell him I said something, and until I see his credentials, until I see his validation. Now, for example, they've gone to one place to look at certain things. I think to check the validity of SSL and what happened to SSL, and they went to England. And the person who said it a couple of weeks ago, the person with the choose is not even at the top 100 of critical accountants or whatever they want to call themselves, forensic accountants. Right? That's the type of people they want to bring. Is them the type of people they want to tell us? Come on, guys, let's get serious. Let's get serious.
I just, yeah, man. In the seriousness, Jeffrey and Dr. Francis, it means that they might cut me off from certain things, because when this program goes, you're going to hear some me a push anarchy against the state. But the truth of the matter is that, Jeffrey, the reason why most people don't move is because a lot of people, you must understand the behavior of people in the psychology. People want leaders. People like to be led. Not everybody understand at the same time, but if we have something out there, we have it to give it to people that is an alternative to the narrative that is being told to them. Look, I'm saddened when I discover as a young youth, when I start, when me develop my senses, that there is the discussion that Edward Seaga brought guns in this country, and Dudley Thompson and D.K. Duncan equally matched him because they felt that what was needed to be done as leaders of the day. And it ties into the point that Dr. Francis said. Where the first governor of Jamaica was a pirate who they gave a position to catch other pirate. So a thief a catch thief, but in it, I'm sure he was making something for himself. All of the leaders that we have gotten after Norman Manley have made contribution to the nation development, and I know that we thank the Manleys for how they basically gave the Smaditization process a place in history. But what is my responsibility today? What is Jeffrey's responsibility? Because the Jamaican people are being fed on a steady diet of just lies and people making up stories because the story is disconnected. Nobody in George William Gordon House must be called honorably, you know. Because everybody know what them party are do. So if you talk about scandal, you have scandal upon the PMP. So if in that, where does the Jamaican people get service? We are being squashed out. Because how is it now, Rupert Francis? Tell me. We are moved to reform and becoming republic. So why was Miss Johnson, Kamika Johnson, seeking to become Secretary General of CARICOM? Of the Commonwealth. What would the possible role if truly we were seeking Republican status? So we don't have any testosterone. So look at Barbados, look at England, have more balls than us. And me and Motley can stand up and tell world leaders all across the world that they have crushed us in terms of the climate change. They have crushed us in terms of the economy development. They have crushed us when they don't make it easy for us to borrow money from larger company at smaller rate. We can't have electric cars in the Caribbean because the manufacturer don't have enough to supply to smaller state like ours. But Mayor Motley seems to become the voice of the Caribbean and are taking on the tougher issue than our government. But here's what nobody will ever say. Jamaica has played a very significant part from the early 60s, 70s, in the middle of the Cold War. Jamaica was right there. We have stood up for everybody, the Asian, the African, and now we are not standing up for ourselves. Rupert Francis, I believe that we have more bright people in Jamaica and outside of Jamaica that can make a difference. And we must stop waiting on government. Stop waiting for them play on a platitude about boy, I'm not doing good work. If the diaspora pull out its support out of Jamaica tomorrow, man, we can't tell us that Jamaica can fall flat on its face in terms of just the social, financial expertise. But we have to speak with one voice. We have to put country above greed and know that all of us have a part to play. So it goes back to what an American president asks, not what your country can do for you, but rather what you can do for your country. Taiwan was in trouble, Rupert, and them said them had developed a 30-year plan. The first part of it was food security, which we need to be educated in Jamaica that in the global things between the Russian war and the other country there, so there is going to likely to be a food shortage. So we need to go back to food security. In the second aspect of it, it developed its economy that it could be viable and it could work. And in the last aspect of it, it says its human capital has to be developed to meet the change. You have a heart trust end here that is turning out hundreds of young people, Dr. Francis, with certification, but no job. And yet still now, hundreds of Jamaicans are spending hundreds of thousands for people who have just come up and set up some hurry come up agency where tell people so them can get jobs. And I'm seeing people being charged in excess of 5,000 US dollars to be a part of this, just so that they can bring some dignity to their family. They're tired of the suffering. There are people who have gone to the border at least 3 times before they are admitted into the United States, paying up to 600 and 700,000 Jamaican dollars, which equates to about 6,000 or 7,000 US dollars, just to get out of this place. Because, as they said, not now one. A lot of people, a lot of people are frustrated, and they want to hear the voice in the wilderness crying out for a new Jamaica. And it's an indictment on all of us. If we make 62 people continue to destroy this broken but promising country, it's an indictment on all of us to continue to hope that they will change. We will only make them change once we have a constitution that holds them feet to the fire, where they have in the constitution any member of the diaspora who were born in Jamaica and is of Jamaican lineage can become the commissioner or the prime minister of Jamaica, and therefore cut out this damn nonsense about them don't want anybody. And then me here, Mr. Chang, he was so polite in saying it. The man, young women in the brown uniform, you will be surprised that they have 2 and 3 degrees. Yes, they do, but they are also part of the thieving population that is robbing this country of going anywhere. So we don't need any more expertise. What we need is money. Come on, Dr. Chang. Come on, Dr. Chang. People like Radigan and Herb, who have worked in international and have seen several mechanisms of how you can fight crime, and you're going to tell them that they don't have a part to play in the welfare of the Jamaican nation. You should have lost your job, but yet still he's going to be one of the malignant cancer on this society. Yet, as long as people continue to believe that JLP and PMP love them, God help this nation. It's Jamaica that we must love. And we must see Jamaica as a company. And we must continue to say that you have a part to play, and it's not to be a political pundit. You must not be a political slave, but you must see that once Jamaica works, it don't mean that it's going to work for you. It's going to work for all Jamaican. And we can see a better and prosperous Jamaica. Look at Barbados achieving that. Look at Barbados achieving that. And everybody used to look to we because we were the creme of the... What I'm saying, creme of the... we were. No, we are a miserable set of losers with some pitiful leadership.
You know something? You know something? I sit here, Sir George and Sir Francis, and I'm asking myself the question: does the Jamaican people need the fundamental change that we all are seeking? Or should I say this to them? The change that you all are seeking will not come from the two political parties. It will not come from the Jamaica Labour Party, nor the People's National Party, nor the National Democratic Movement, nor the UIC or CIU, whatever you want to call it. It has to come from us as a people. We the people. Somewhere in the American Constitution, it says we the people. In the Jamaican Constitution, well, I'm going to put it in, we the people. If we the people of our country do not stand up for the fundamental change that we seek in this country, we will never get it from the People's National Party, nor from the Jamaica Labour Party. And the time has come, Jamaicans, for us to rally around a single cause and a single purpose. Jamaica is in dire need of rescuing. I said it before and I'll say it again. We're knocking behind Haiti's back door. We are knocking behind Haiti's back door. My fellow Jamaicans, stop this PNP and JLP crap. Stand up for this piece of rock. We came here by labor plane, not by airplane, nor party plane, nor whatever. We came here by labor plane. And this piece of rock is ours.
You know, I want to say...
Hold on, Dr. Francis. We mustn't let the Chinese or the Syrians believe that they can talk to us anyhow and get away with it.
Listen.
This country is in need of rescuing. And the time is now, Jamaica. Jamaicans, the time is now. Stand up and call out for a constitution of the people, for the people, and by the people. Not a constitution of the Vumbava and the Vumbavi. Go ahead, Dr. Francis.
Yeah, you know, I listened to a program today where some African people are talking about that, we should not look to the United States and other places like that because China, is not bad and Russia is not that bad and so on. Well, I say to them, when you're running away with how many of you have run to China? How many of you have run to Russia? How many of you have gone to North Korea? How many of you have gone to Nicaragua, El Salvador, Venezuela? Need I continue? The fact of the matter is this, look. With all the flaws and what have you and what have you, America stands out. All right? And it is all people that allow the Americans and other countries to superimpose themselves on the societies as they've done. But as somebody said today, Boko Haram and all those terrorist organizations are getting bigger and wider and what have you. And they are looking, the only people who are going to embrace them is all of these, what you call it, totalitarian regimes. Is that what we're heading for? So let me make it quite clear, as you have said. The time is now. We know what freedom looks like. We know what freedom is. And I'm not saying it's not free, because I'm telling you, in many of these countries, you certainly cannot shoot like you're shooting, you certainly cannot rape, you cannot do the things you're doing, because they would take you outside and they would chop your damn head off right away and shoot. No, in fact, as a matter of fact, I saw another film the other day, which was absolutely, I couldn't believe it. I said, where the hell is this? It was in Turkey. The people who they say were responsible for the horrific houses, hundreds of them were just taken outside, blindfolded. I guess them a favor and they'll shot in the head and drop it off it. I say, my God, is this what people want? Look at what we have. Look at where we've come from. Have we learned nothing? They brought the Bible there to superimpose it, and we have now taken the Bible and teaching them with the Bible, except some of us are not. We pretend that we are. Okay, we have told us that the church like more by now. But let me make it quite clear. You can fool people some of the time. But you can't fool all the people all the time, and you cannot fool God. Or Allah, or whoever we pray. Eventually, you will have to come to a day of reckoning. I'm no prophet. I'm no Muhammad. But I can say this as night follows day. Those of you who are doing what you're doing, know what are doing. It is wrong. You know it's wrong, and you will pay the price. And no amount of repenting or repentance before you meet your Maker will save you. Okay, because your intention is the Lord, not a lawyer. But there are two things that you have to have to commit a crime: mens rea and actus rea. You have to have a guilty mind, a guilty intention, and you have to do a guilty act. I'm closing now. I'm telling you, this thing has really, I will raise my blood pressure. Thank you, George, for opening my eyes. I've got a lot of stuff. We have a lot to go, and we have to collaborate, cooperate, and communicate. Jeffrey, thank you for the opportunity to be on your platform. So that's basically it.
Yes. Before I have the last word from the distinguished gentleman who I never know who could speak his mind like this. Let me make something categorically clear this afternoon or this evening here on this platform. If the president of the UIC cannot come and tell the people of this country who his candidates are, don't come and tell me that I must go on this program. Let me make something clear again this evening. If Mr. Joseph Patterson of the UIC cannot tell the people of Jamaica who his candidates are in the next general election, do not come on my platform and tell me, I need to go on Mr. whatever platform or talk show. I will never go on it. He must be new and different. So the UIC is no better from the People's National Party and the Labour Party. So George, your final word.
No, say finally no, because my work them not saying no execution and for take me out of my house tonight and execute me. But if I should die, let me die this way. I'd rather die on Yanda's gallows than remain a silent slave to the mayhem and the destruction of the Jamaican people.
And the scamming, hold on, Georgie, and the scamming, they want to scam Jamaican people.
You know, the sheer dishonesty of the system of governance has reached a level that I believe that there is going to be a major shaking in this country, because even God himself now must be fed up with the tyranny and the deceit to which our leaders conduct themselves. But it is again my humble opinion. You don't have to be bribed. There was a time, Rupert Francis, where you used to have a man who used to can read, and him read the paper to the man them down in a St. William Grand Park. And as a student, I used to go down there and listen to those people, and I gained a lot of insight from one man read, and believe it or not, the man who can read could make sense out of it in reasoning. We have a responsibility as forward-thinking Jamaica who love country above profit and gains to put our arguments in parliamentary papers. We must put a task force on agriculture. We must put one on climate change. We must put one on education. We must put one on health. We must put one on science and technology. We have to put one on economic development. Look, ganja, them say Mark Golden come with this ganja thing, but look at the value of ganja to medicinal purposes, and we have some of the best ganja. And yet still, we're not pushing that we can support the medical studies on ganja and the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes. Then we have waters running in springs, driving up to St. Mary and other parishes. You come from St. Thomas and you look at those waters gushing from the rock. Whereas you have Egypt, you have Dubai, that people will buy a bottle of water for a pretty dollar. And we have natural resources in our country that people are crying out for in other so-called developed states. But it is not being manufactured and bottled in such a way. We have the nicest coffee, but not enough protection of the coffee. The reggae music is now going to the people from Asia because we have not put in the new reform a way to protect the authenticity of something that is originally, or almost in every hotel in Jamaica, you have a Trenchtown night. And yet still, if you look at the community of Trenchtown that has not benefited from this Trenchtown night, or why is it not developed in such a way where more people can be bused there instead of you keeping them in the environment so the money can share with the people who mostly need it. But the responsibility is left up to us, Jeffrey. And that is for the reason why we still have the passion. So Rupert, those who says that the diaspora hate Jamaica, if you did, you didn't have to come on this program. The amount of things that between you, Jeffrey, Herb, and other members of the diaspora do, and sometimes you hear them promote a one person at the diaspora, which me know they usually are them talks, are them spokesperson. That's why you hear them not calling other names of the people who really are hardcore and call them out. I believe that every time they turn up into one of these countries in the diaspora to have a meeting with you, you should have a blackout, an all blackout, where everybody wear black and turn their back. We should name them and shame them until they understand that enough is enough and we're not going to be bullied. For Jamaicans, I basically said, let us put all the literature out there. Let us continue the conversation, and not just the conversation. Let us do stuff that are going to be meaningful to people. We're going to set up ourselves as a developing organization that we are helping people within local community to develop. Me can't understand how people come for diaspora conference but never say, go back to them village and them township and say, look where. Me want to talk to the people them. Me want to hear from the people them what they're doing with our resources and establish yourself. There must be a diaspora group in Cornwall, Middlesex and Surrey that is not only taking information but is helping with a development plan for that county, and the responsibility is left up to all of us. And I believe that we all have the capacity. We are still the people of Marcus Garvey. We're still the people of Paul Bull, Sam Shaw, George William Gordon, and none of them maroon. We must not give up the fight. Bob Marley said, never give up the fight. Never give up the fight. And the only reason why evil is so pervasive is because good men like us are on the retreat. We must be prepared to lose our life for the sake of the generation to come. But if you look at the example of Jesus Christ, for this reason he was prepared to put down his life for people who did not even see the importance of the sacrifice of the time. But his name has gone through all the eras and all of the period of time for the sacrifice of trying to save mankind from their own self-destruction. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? And if it's not Jamaica, where? Because remember me, I tell you, Jamaica have three things that says that we are the apple of God's eye. You have a national pledge, you have a national anthem, that are all pointing us to a national school song, so which is all pointing us to the direction of playing our part. And in the national pledge it says, in our school pledge it says, my loyalty to give, but before that it says, I pledge my heart to give honestly and generously to my fellow man. And I think that we must be whole accountable when the national anthem says, stir response to duty score. The duty to save Jamaica is on our shoulder, not on Andrew Holness administration, not on Mark Golding administration. Every Jamaican have a right to want to save this country, and we should not see this as a small responsibility. It should be the commitment of our heart, so that when we face God, him can say, well done, good and faithful servant. You had little, but now come and enjoy the abundance of your father. And that's where I am. That's where I am. I can't join no other crusade. I can't join no political party. No boy can tell you say my name in a them political party. I support them thing there. Politics is poison on the society. Politics is what keeps people. You kill people's son. Do you know how many sons and daughters of Jamaica have died in the name of PNP and JLP? Have we ever done a research on the killings from the 70s to present that people have been sacrificed? How much politician you ever hear dead? Apart from the one where they name Davis. And one got jail. How much politician has ever gone to jail? Them wrong and them strong. We too hold the people. Right. So, and you want to tell me, say, the rest of them are just innocent people. When we know, man, when me hear from me, I got school, say, them killed school girl, you come to big MP in a country. Then where you going to say to a youth in the inner city when I'm not to eat and I'm no big education, Dr. Rupert Francis? You can't. So the people that might cry for do this. The people that say Christ died for us, and we will die. All that dog did out there in the shirt. My God, that is the country that a Rupert Francis and a Trevor Tavares come from, with Jeffrey Tavares, with such a rich history, Dr. Francis. When we have to sip our people, them are marching at the street and barricade themselves in them house because them rather die for a man where them believe say he will bring swift justice. He will speak volume to their social and economic development. And you have a government. What does it say about the government? It means that it's a government that the people vote for, but it's not a government of the people. Because the people are who are suffering.
Well said.
Well said, thank you.
Dr. Rupert Francis.
Well, I don't know if I can add anything to this, to what Luke George has said, except that we're out of many one people. And in our lives, no man is an island, no man stands alone. And we have to look out for our brothers' keepers. Marcus Garvey said, one aim, one love, one aim, one death. I believe in that. I don't believe necessarily in the separation of races. I believe that everybody must live and let live. But I do believe that our people, we must put them first. Really, truly first, not politically. Ideologically, spiritually, everything. And we must train the children in the way they must go, and so that they will not depart therefrom. We must do that as a priority if we want to save our country. I also say that those who are benefiting financially from this whole exercise of the destruction of our country, they must understand their reckoning will come. Of course, they may laugh now. Sometimes when you see some people on their deathbed and they are suffering and they are asking the Creator to take them and He won't take them, remember, that's the reason why. Okay? So I'm saying to you, let's move forward. We know what it is now. Let's be sensible. Let us really show our love to Jamaica. Follow the precepts and the concepts that people like Luke John and yourself has exposed. And let's move on to a better day and a brighter future. One love, one heart, one destiny.
You know, I must say thanks to Dr. Rupert Francis. But before we go, let me say this. A lot of people know this because I say it already and I say it again. I'm going to look over my glasses this evening. I say it already. I say it already. I'm going to say it again. Some of these politicians put dead, they shall name you know what and confess to the people of this country for the burning down of the Eventide home, for the atrocity of Tivoli Garden, for so many atrocities in this country.
Green
They
Day.
shall name you know what before they're dead. And I'm going to apologize to nobody what I'm saying. They shall name you know what for milking poor people in this country. And I'm saying to the National Agency tonight, I have my glasses in, I can't see my face. Me, Jeffrey Tavares coming off on. The National Agency are coming off on. Only decide for thief poor people land. But woe be unto all out, you know. Don't you trouble Zion. My special thanks to Dr. Rupert Francis, retired captain of the Jamaica Defense Force, head of the Jamaican Diaspora Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force, Mr. Luke George, Justice of the Peace, Mr. Marcel Clark, chairman of the St. Thomas Crime Prevention Unit. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on to the Metrovirus YouTube channel. Don't be a stranger. May God bless you. May God bless Jamaica land we love. Jamaicans, stand up for the piece of rock. Until you hear my voice again, have a good night. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. God bless you all.